How's it going, everybody? It's Royalty Crypto here, and welcome back to my channel. So today I will be talking about one of the original Layer 1 blockchains, that being Litecoin. I'll discuss some potential price targets for 2026 for this coin, and whether or not I think it is a good time to be buying at these current levels. I'll also take a look at some interesting macro catalysts that I believe will be very important for the short term of crypto. And with all that being said, let's take a look at the overall crypto market first. So as you can see, Bitcoin is unfortunately down a little bit over 1% in the past 24 hours, as we are currently trading at 87,300, and Ethereum and Solana are having very similar moves. In my opinion, the reason why we are experiencing this weakness in the market today is because we had our GDP growth data released earlier today, and we did smash expectations. As you can see, we were expected to have a 3.3% growth, and we actually ended up having a 4.3% growth. I don't know how the analysts were that wrong with this estimate, but they were, and that is quite insane to see. Now, you might think that this seems like a very bullish sign because the overall economy is actually stronger than what was expected. However, that is not the case in the short term, and the reason for that is because the fact that our economy is more strong than expected gives Jerome Powell less of a reason to cut interest rates. Now, I do believe that this is only a short-term concern, and I will talk about why I think that later on in this video, but nonetheless, this is causing some volatility today. But alright guys, let's take a look at the Litecoin chart. So as you can see, Litecoin is currently trading at $76.76, and that equates to a $5.88 billion market cap for this project. And you can see that Litecoin has been holding a steady uptrend since about June of 2022, when it bottomed at a $3.3 billion market cap. So it was about $40 give or take at that time. And since then, we have been trending upwards slowly but surely. I think that this is a fantastic sign for Litecoin overall, as most altcoin charts look significantly more bearish than this in my opinion. So this does give me quite a bit of hope that once Litecoin does finally break out of this upwards trending channel, it could potentially get back to the all-time highs, which was hit in 2021 at a $23.1 billion market cap. If I were to give a best case scenario price prediction for this coin for 2026, I would say that I think Litecoin could potentially get to a $40 billion market cap, which would be about a 7x from here. If that were the case, we'd be sitting at about $550 per coin for Litecoin. But of course, guys, as I say in all of my videos, none of these price targets are guaranteed, and that is actually my most optimistic price target. So I do recommend taking profits on the way up, because you never know just how high these projects will actually get. And you definitely don't want to be the type of person that ends up round tripping their bags, because altcoins can pump dramatically and then retrace dramatically, kind of like what we saw in 2021 and late 2024. But do I think it is a good time to be accumulating Litecoin right now? I actually do think that it is a fantastic time, and the reason for that is because we have seen quite a bit of fear in the crypto market lately, and whenever there's a lot of fear in the sentiment for crypto, it is typically a fantastic time to be accumulating strong altcoins like Litecoin, especially if you're willing to hold for at least the next 6 to 12 months. Also, another reason, guys, is because we are touching this trend line for about the 4th or 5th time since we started it in 2020, and as long as we can hold that trend line, it is very reasonable to believe that Litecoin could potentially get back up to around the $10 billion market cap level in a short period of time, especially if greed and euphoria starts to return to the altcoin market. And I do expect that to happen at some point in 2026, and I will go over some of the reasons why I think that later on in this video. But let's briefly discuss some interesting pieces of Litecoin news. As you can see, the LitVM test launch is coming soon, and it is expected to open in Q1 of 2026. If you aren't familiar with what LitVM is, it is a EVM compatible layer 2 solution that enables smart contracts and DeFi capabilities on the Litecoin network. Also, I found this very interesting. A NASDAQ listed drug maker, MEI Pharma, has announced plans to invest $100 million in Litecoin, and also appointed its creator, Charlie Lee, to its board, indicating growing corporate adoption. This is awesome to see, and hopefully this creates a bit of a domino effect to where other large institutions like MEI Pharma ends up following their lead and actually starts investing into Litecoin. $100 million goes a very long way when you're investing investing into a $5 billion market cap. It really does. But all right, guys, let's talk about some of those macro catalysts that I was mentioning earlier on in this video. So as you can see, and as I mentioned before, the US GDP growth is at its strongest pace since 2023. And although that might not be great in the short term, I do believe that this is a very bullish sign for 2026, especially once Trump appoints his new Fed chair, who will definitely be cutting rates regardless of where the GDP is currently sitting. And as we all know, President Trump has been very pro rate cuts, and he actually mentioned today that anybody that disagrees with him will never be the Fed chair. So that is definitely a good sign in my opinion, because we want a dovish Fed chair, especially if you're heavily invested into risk on assets like crypto. So this does give me a lot of hope for 2026. Also, guys, last week we did receive the CPI inflation, and that unexpectedly fell to 2.7%, and I believe that that was expected to come in around 3.3%, so that was also significantly cooler than expected as well. So overall, guys, I do think that the economy is in a very good spot going into 2026. And although it might not look like it based on crypto's current price action, I do believe that eventually some of this momentum will start to make its way to the crypto market, and that is one of the reasons why I think 2026 could end up being the parabolic altcoin season that we've all been waiting for. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about today is the US crypto czar David Sachs said that we are officially entering the golden age for crypto. Now again, it might not seem like it based on price action, but I believe what he is referring to is the fact that the Crypto Clarity Act will most definitely be approved sometime in early 2026. And if the crypto clarity goes according to plan, I do think that it is going to give institutional investors even more of an incentive to finally invest into crypto. So hopefully we'll see some massive companies like Amazon and Tesla start to invest some of their spare cash into Bitcoin. That would be fantastic for the overall market. But all right, guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you all had a fantastic day, and if I don't end up making a video tomorrow, I'm undecided whether or not I will. Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays, and I will talk to you guys soon. Peace.